Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting to order.
Chairman Wayne M. Richards.
Present.
Vice Chair Jean Ellen Wright.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Georgine Mastix is absent. Commissioner Blair J. Sickland.
Here.
Commissioner Peyton W. MacArthur.
Here.
Executive Director Manuel O'Meara.
I'm here.
Board Counsel Greg Picken.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Would we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Have we had an opportunity, or have you guys read the minutes? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries 4-0. Mr. O'Meara, additions, deletions, presentations, and announcements. I see one presentation by Mrs. Mounts.
Yes, Commissioners, we have one board presentation on Port Communications Program that will be done by Tara Monk and also Monks. And also in addition, under E9 consent agenda, we'd like to add Hilltop Baptist Church Scholarship.
Okay. Very good. Is there a motion to modify the consent agenda by adding E9?
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded to add E9, under E9, Hilltop Church Scholarship. All those in favor to the modification of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Ms. Monks, good afternoon.
Hey. Hello. We just wanted to give you guys a presentation of basically how our digital communications plays a part in our information, how it's distributed, and how that audience has grown over the last year, and why that's important to everybody here. We basically have 3 main channels of digital communication that we use. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? We use our website, which hopefully looks familiar to everyone here. We use email. That's an example of one of our monthly emails that goes out. And we use social media. We have a very rapidly growing social media presence, particularly with Facebook and Twitter. That's what your Twitter account looks like right now. Well, a few days ago. Over the past year, you can see that we've had over 100% growth in our Facebook. We've had 52% growth in Twitter. Our monthly visitors are up about 3,000 people, and our newsletter started last September and is now actually over 4,000 visitors, or 4,000 subscribers. That number is also an additional, add another 1,000 to that, and you've got our general port emails as well. So through our efforts, through our planning and strategy and actual execution of the way that we're dispersing our information, we have more people interested, more people following, and more people getting the information that they're actually looking for. So who exactly is paying attention to us? On the website, you have people that are specifically looking for keywords. Port of Palm Beach and Grand Celebration Cruise are the number 1 and number 2 search terms when it comes to getting to our website. That's a good thing because our bounce rate is 20%, which is actually really, really good for a website. That means 20% of people leave our website within less than a minute. So the information that we're giving the other 80% of people is exactly what they're looking for. Once they get onto our website, they're looking for specifics again, how to get here, where to park, the bids that are available, where TWIC badging is, and the governmental affairs, the agenda center. The website demographic is a little older than you'll see as our social media demographic, but it's also a little more spread out. It's more regional and national than locally based. What did I say? 90% comes from the States, and then only 10% is really international, and that's mainly Canada and Bahamas. Social media, like I said, is a little younger. The top 2 demographics, age demographics, that were between 25 and 54. And it's hyper-local. Most people are from West Palm, then it's followed by Lake Worth, the Gardens, Boynton, Jupiter. Riviera Beach is actually number 10, but I do believe that's because the population is just smaller. I don't really think that correlates to actual importance between the city and the port. And these people are engaged by more action posts. What exactly are we doing? Who are we working with? What's going on? The most engaging posts that we've had over the last year were what awards we've gotten when we were closing for the hurricane and things like that. So it has to be pretty active for them to kind of keep paying attention. And just like I explained, you have to communicate to each one of these audiences differently. So while we have the same message and the same platform going out, we tailor each recipient differently. So when we send out an email, we can have a lot of body copy. When we send out a social media post, it's pretty short and sweet and it has a picture because it's what works for people.
Young people especially.
We like pictures. But you need one central hub for all the information that you're going to get. So what we use is our website. It's a big monster. It has a huge CMS, which is a content management system in the back, but it's where we house all of our information. All of our agendas are there, our calendar items, you can see what's up there. Our press releases are all housed there, so everything we send out comes right back to our website. And through that website, we are able to send out emails to our different distribution lists. We are also able to send out text messages, which we don't use as much, but we're working on building that database as we speak. And then we also use that same website at the same back end to send everything out through social media. We just tailor it from the back end of the website so that it just goes out in one big push rather than somebody spending the time to do this over and over and over. And it's kind of what I just said. Notice tactics for social media are things that grab attention. So if you look at our Facebook page, you see a lot of imagery, you see a lot of kind of flashy headlines, you see a lot of tagging of our partners. Riviera Beach is really good at this. They'll either post something about us and put us on their feed, and we'll do the same. And that actually creates an even larger audience because that combines ours with theirs. So we have about 25,000 people in our direct audience, but every time we're able to partner up with another social media presence or another email presence, it triples. And this is important for a few reasons, but brand awareness would be number one. We need people to know who we are when we're out doing these meetings and when we're at trade shows. The easier that people can recognize our logo, our name, our actual location on a map, the easier it is to start business development communications, to start talking about what it is we can do and how we can be helpful. And then how we're actually impacting the community. The more people know who we are, the more people know what we do. So as far as brand awareness goes, then you get brand support. The more people know, the happier they are. That goes for basically anything that happens in life. So the more information that we can get to these people in the most specific terms that they're requesting, whether it be a monthly email, whether it be a daily post, whether it be a random alert that we're talking about hurricane preparedness, they are more comfortable with the port's presence as a whole. And through that support, you end up with advocacy. Everybody likes to be a source of knowledge. So the more you are giving them something to talk about, the more they will talk about it. And we do that regularly through our communications strategies, which we update every year. We include what it is we want to get across, what branding techniques we want the public to see, what our main messaging strategies should be for that year, what projects we need support for, things like that. We incorporate it into a plan and then we execute it. And we do it well. We continue to grow our audience. We continue to increase audience engagement. And it makes our lives a little easier as well because the more information that people can get on their own, the less they'll, for lack of a better word, bother us. The less that we'll have to answer specific emails from 5,000 people because we've already given them the information in a form that's easy for them to digest. And then, of course, awards. This past year, we've won 7 awards from the AAPA, and all of them were communications-based. 6 of them were for our digital efforts. And that is it.
Very impressive, Ms. Owens, very impressive. Any comments or questions from this board? Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Great, thanks.
We are going forward with our local bill. How will that be communicated through your efforts?
The same through all of those outreach opportunities that we have. As far as the local bill goes, you have your meeting announcements and those get posted onto the website, and calendar updates, the general updates go through. And then all of those are simultaneously published on our social media channels as well. So every piece of information that we have goes out through those multiple channels.
Very good. Any further comments or questions? Thank you once again. Appreciate your efforts.
Thanks.
I believe we're now going to move to the consent agenda. Would the commissioners have any, do you want anything to be removed from the consent agenda for further discussions? Hearing none, we will accept the motion to approve the consent. Second. A motion has been made, probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, none, motion carries unanimously. Like, before I'd like to recognize Chairman T.D. Davis from River Beach. Thank you for being here, T.D. All right. I don't see Tommy Shores here yet, but thanks for being here. Okay, Mr. O'Meara.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It wasn't that long ago that we had a hurricane called Matthew. It went by here. Thank God we did okay. Just as a quick reminder of what we went through, the port closed on Thursday, October the 6th at 6 p.m. officially. That was Zulu. It simply means turn off the lights and go home. 12 hours later, Ken Hearn from the port was here at 6 a.m. opening the gates, and the initial damage assessment began. At 9 a.m., port damage assessment was completed. The port resumed operating in the individual terminals. By 11 a.m., 2 local Coast Guard representatives were in my office, and we had already made arrangements for PBSO to have their boats, boat, which has a scan sonar system in the water by 11:30. By 1:30 p.m., Ken had communicated with the U.S. Coast Guard Miami sector and managed to persuade the captain of the port to open for ship traffic at the inlet. By 2:39, Grand Celebration was already at the training basin to pick up 600 passengers for essentially a trip to nowhere. The ship did return to the port to continue its regular sailing on Sunday, October the 9th. Incidentally, since 6 a.m. that Thursday, actually Friday, Ken Hearn and I were receiving text messages and phone calls from the ownership of the Grand Celebration requesting information as to when the port would resume normal operations. We must have received about 20?
Or more.
Well, yeah. So, luckily, and this was not an easy task to persuade and have the captain of the port open our port. Normally, commissioners, what would happen would have been the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers would have been out here doing a survey, barometric survey, but because the hurricane was heading towards Jacksonville, they went ahead and they placed 8 of their 9 vessels on the land side, and they slowly have started to move them back out in the ocean so they can complete their barometric surveys. Moving on, commissioners, changing a little bit of the hurricane. Structural damages were 2 high mast light poles. 1 pole broke. You'll see a picture in a few seconds. 1 pole damaged to light ring locking system. We went ahead and replaced the lights with LEDs. The usual leaks in the terminal, Southgate building, warehouses number 11 and 12. Incidentally, the insurance adjuster was already examined the damage and repairs made following insurance company's procedures. This is the light bulb that actually snapped
on the right hand, well, the yellow apparatus are there. Notice where the light bulb actually snapped and moved over about 10 feet. This is in Merchants Exports, by the way. If anybody's interested with that, that may be. Other Hurricane Matthew damages, of course, panels on the cruise terminal were moved because of the slight winds, and then, of course, the asset control panels were also damaged. But all in all, I think we did just fine. Again, it's already in the process of being going through our insurance company. What you're about to see is a couple of pictures of Freeport sent to us by Tropical. This is Tropical's office in Freeport. They, as you can see, there was no power. There's very little much to do at that point, although things are slowly getting back to normal. But this is what they were saying, that there isn't one light bulb that's standing up. All of them have snapped, and the government is in the process of changing them and putting new ones on. We do see a lot of those light bulbs here, and they're consistently going back to Freeport to replace them. This is part of the warehouse. That's what it looks like. Excuse me. Now, we have begun to see some relief. This is our famous Empanada Railroad ship that came in and picked up these cherry top type trucks so they can assist in the electrical process or getting back the electrical companies in Freeport to get back to normal. They had about 12 of these trucks, I think, and there's more to come, as I understand it. All right, if I can then change gears a little bit. During a telephone conference call last Friday, the Florida Seaport Transportation and Economic Development Council has agreed to allocate $2 million to the Port of Palm Beach Waterside Refrigerated Cargo Terminal Development Project, formerly known as the MOB. This is another step towards negotiations with Tropical Shipping. A reminder, this fund requires a 50-50 match. Tropical Shipping has agreed to contribute $1 million. Also, verse 17. Verse 17 has an additional $1.5 million that was reallocated. If you recall, this was the passenger bridge that we were going to replace. We decided not to replace it and yet kept the $1.5 million that has been added to the verse 17 project. That was also agreed to. Speaking of Tropical Shipping, Mr. Chair, what I'd like to do is have Greg Pickett provide you with an update on the negotiations.
Thank you.
Yes, first of all, the lease for the office space has been circulated. There's one fairly minor issue that staff is speaking with Tropical representative on. It's more of a higher level discussion than attorney to attorney. And so then we have structured the main agreements for the amended lease and terminal agreement and the MOB laydown area as one agreement is going to be the picture of what the contractual relationship will be after the MOB laydown area is complete, and the other agreement is sort of the bridge agreement that takes us from here to there. The continuation agreement, the first agreement I referenced, was sent over to Tropical this afternoon. The second agreement we've been going back and forth with staff on. I've been going back and forth with staff. We've had a number of meetings. We're meeting tomorrow afternoon. And I would like to say that we would have that piece, the bridge piece, to Glenn Kreiser at probably, I would like to say Tuesday or Wednesday, but certainly by the end of the week. And my goal at that point is to sit down with him and discuss how the two agreements work together and give him the lay of the land. To sort of assist a little bit, because we've had the benefit of of thinking through the structure, and he would just sort of be flooded with it all at once. So the idea is to sit down and explain things a little bit, and then he would begin his review.
All right, thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that. Blair? Yes, sir.
Are we dealing, who are you dealing with now over at Tropical? Is there somebody now that's taken over?
They have, well, I'll let, there's an attorney that they have on staff,
I'm
I'm
just
Kaiser,
curious.
and I'm dealing with him,
Right.
staff is.
Who are we dealing
We're
with?
dealing with Jeff Advisor, who's the president.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pickens.
All right, so if I can continue, Commissioners, the City of Revere Beach and the Port Central Local Agreement, in your folders, you may remember a presentation, and actually, this was in Mike Bush's work, very nicely done. We, back on October the 13th.
Can that be put up? Do we have that or no?
No, we don't. Back on October the 13th, Mike Busha, Danny Jones, Peggy, and me, we met to review the open items during our first meeting, which is now over a year ago. Mr. Jones from the city stated that he would be having individual discussions with each council member to inform and bring them up to date. Michael Busha also agreed to assist in these individual discussions. This past Tuesday, I had asked Mr. Jones that what had ever happened to our ability to possibly park in this area, which of course is north of 10th Street, and he has said that he is going to look into it. There may be a way for us to be able to utilize that land to park, and what I'm looking to do is to park the crew that comes in for ticketing agents for the grand celebration. So I'm waiting for him to respond on that decision. What else do we have?
Before you go back to that for a moment, please, what are the next steps as you see them with regard to the interlocal discussion?
Sure. According to Michael Busha, what he would like to do is give enough time for Mr. Jones to explain to the council, A, what we did, and B, what it is that we are trying to accomplish. Secondly, then, what we'd like to do is start preparing ourselves for the second meeting, that is ourselves and the city council. There are about 5 or 6 outstanding items that are stressed, and we all agree that those are the items that we should be contacting. That's basically what you have in here.
Okay.
Not the least of which, of course, is something that we're dealing with the planning side, which is the use of the FDOT land, which I just told that we could just receive the response from Jeff Gack about where we are with that process.
Since we're discussing the city, and I see another council person, I'd like to recognize, welcome Councilman Don Pardo. Welcome, Ms. Pardo. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Sure.
Chair.
I want to talk about you and not say hello.
I'm used to it. Thank you.
So, Danny, we are in for permitting or zoning change for the former FDOT property, correct?
That is correct.
And what are the next steps with that?
Just got the email, I haven't read it.
Well, no, don't put them on the spot.
All right. Actually, if you can just read it for me, but that's fine.
Okay, all right, so that's in the, that's in the process.
That is correct.
And then we're also in the process on the,
Coordinating the second meeting.
okay, all right, thank you very much.
All right. Now, this is very sweet, for sugar. Michael is in our room. Michael is in our audience. Notice that they're replacing the panels. They're going with the entire warehouse. By the time this finishes, which will probably be sometime in January, it'll look really, really nice. You thank them. It helps with the aesthetics of
course.
Absolutely.
Manny, what is the extent of the work that's going to be done? Is it roof replacement and something else, painting, or do you know?
Well, here's what I do know. Their intent is to replace anything that has on the roof and anything that's on the conveyor system. Then I'm hoping that the walls will also be painted, but, right? Will you paint the walls?
Anything with metal exterior will be chipped, primed, painted. I hired a repair maintenance crew that's going over the entire sugar terminal. The entire roof's being replaced, everything entirely, a new venting system on top. And it will be complete sometime in December, early January, and then we'll probably take that same crew and start doing some upgrades over at the molasses terminal.
I think it's Mike Zally for the record. And Mike, the side, I don't know if that's concrete block or.
It is. We're going to wait until the roof's done so that those rust stains are gone, and then that'll be completely repainted.
Okay, thank you, Mike, appreciate it.
No problem, Wayne.
Perfect.
Anything else? All right, well, Commissioners, then please refer to your agenda items. We had a coffee catch-up with U.S. Coast Guard, very timely. We did meet with Captain LaPorte. She fully understands our great need, not only for the grand celebration, but also food and relief to Bahamas with tropical shipping being here. We had the break bulk in Houston. Jared and 2 others attended that. I will be in New Orleans for the 105th AAPA annual convention. Please don't forget that on Tuesday the 24th, I am scheduled to visit Port Fourchon, Louisiana. I will tour the natural gas loading facility and operation. That has already been scheduled. And that's all I have, Commissioners. If there's any questions.
Commissioner MacArthur?
Yes, Mayor. First, I'd just like to thank you and Ken particularly for your efforts to get the port back up and running after the visit with Hurricane Storm, I guess, Matthew. Considering the number of passengers that were waiting to get on the grand celebration, it was a Herculean effort and much appreciated. Also, before the meeting, Ken had showed me 2 photos of the lap ring is broken, and he, Ken, would you like to share with the commissioners what you told me? It was great.
We don't have the photo available. We can do that at the next meeting if you'd like to show it.
But what he's doing is you tell him, replacing the bulbs.
What you had previously approved at prior meetings is an LED test for high mass lighting project. We actually had that LED system sitting on the garage floor waiting for installation. When the hurricane came through, took out the high mass light on the main marginal, which is one of the key areas for tropical shipping to be able to operate. We weren't going to be able to reuse that same ring that was there. So we just made the decision to go ahead and install the LED test project out there. The lighting it's just amazing looking at it at night. I mean, every other high mast light pole has light spillage that goes everywhere. I mean, you can see it from Mars almost, especially Palm Beach, Singer Island, things of that nature. These LEDs, it's directional lighting, and it goes straight down, and there's almost zero light spillage coming out of it. Totally lights up the area. Some of the estimates on the return on investment for going for it, because it's energy efficient, is that it's 2 to 3 years for return on investment to actually convert to LED light on energy savings.
And would you explain the test program, please?
Well, I mean, we're putting a pole up. We're gonna.
The one?
Yes, one right now. We have one pole that's going to be LED. We're going to put a meter on it to get an accurate depiction of how much energy it's using. We're going to put a meter on another high pressure sodium pole, see what it's doing, and then we'll be able to calculate the cost savings and see where it goes. If we see that the return on the investment is something that we would definitely be interested in, we would go out for an RFP. We're not locked into this LED manufacturer. What I saw last night was very impressive, so it would be interesting. Also, these things are 10-year warranty to where right now the high pressure sodiums, we're going out every 3 months having to replace bulbs, replace lights, manpower, all that sort of good stuff to fix these things. With the LED, it's a fixture that actually stays on the top, it's guaranteed for 10 years. The light rings right now with the shields on them weigh about 1,000 pounds. The light fixture with LED is about 100.
Wow. when you indicate that the spillage on the neighbor communities is greatly zero.
Almost zero, it's amazing.
There's significant payback there, non-financial, but still very significant, so we want to hear more of this as soon as you can.
And then the photo he has, it's amazing, really.
Yeah,
The
that's
difference between the light spillage between the two levels.
I can show you the hard copy.
And while we're on the same subject, and with Councilperson Pardo here, I wanted to bring up Stone Rock and the preparations they made during the storm. And she might like to see the photos that you shared of their preparations and how they, because that's I know that's one of her concerns.
I will most definitely do that by forwarding.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay, all right, Commissioner Stickland.
Yes, Manny, can you give me and the board a short update on the soundings after the storm?
I'll do that.
Oh, Dave's gonna do it with it? Oh, okay.
He's our engineer.
First slide.
Oh, all right.
All right, well, we're segueing to, are you done?
I am.
Segueing to our engineering report. Dave, glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Hi.
Commissioners,
You came around for Christmas?
what's that?
You came around for Christmas?
It's been talked about.
That looks good.
I really should say, after the storm, Ken had a surveyor come out and do soundings of the entire port area, including the channel. This is a segment at the exit of the jetties and the ocean end of the jetties. Looks pretty good. It's really clean. There's a few high spots that are in the, like 34.8 or something instead of 35 or 33. So it's pretty tight all over the whole turning basin and the entrance channel as of the weekend after the storm. There may have been some changes with the northeasters, but right now it's good. Right?
Yeah, that's mean low tide. Everything in green is 34,
Low tide.
34, excuse me, low tide. Everything in green is 34 feet.
Yeah.
It's good news, very good news.
Port Amherst is 33, so.
And Commissioners, one of the reasons we felt that this needed to be done was because there was a dredge company in the Gulf that was making its way north right after Matthew. So I had contacted Tim Murphy and told him, if we have a problem, that dredge better be here to clean it up. And fortunately, we didn't need him.
So that came out real well.
All right, very good. Have we already approved that work, or is it coming up?
It's actually under my signing authority, it's $12,500.
All right, good.
But please,
Glad you did.
It's needed to be done.
Absolutely.
The other project that I've been involved here in the last month that I've been here is the first 17 project, and the contractors so far installed the sheet pile on the turning basin side of the project, and you see sticking up here some of the temporary steel piling that will be used to hold the sheet pile in place while they do excavation and work behind landward of the bulkhead. So the project's moving a little slow. The contractor was delayed only about 3.5 days by the storm, but he's had some other holdups, equipment, and delivery materials and things. So we're working to get him back on track. Karen is working with the contractor to get an updated schedule so we can see how he's going to bring back on schedule. There's some work to be coordinated with FP&L on the property line. There are 3 light poles that FP&L, we paid FP&L to move. We're just waiting for them to actually move, and if they don't get them moved pretty soon, they'll start delaying the contract. So hopefully they're scheduled. They won't give us a hard schedule, but they're hoping to do that by the end of this month.
Dave, other than the potential issues that with moving the light poles, are there any things that we should be aware of? Are there any flags out there that you're?
There are two. There are two of significance. One is when they started and connected to the end of what was the Slip 3 project to build the bulkhead to the south. It wasn't where it was shown in the drawings. It was about 5 feet short of that. So the contractor had to bring in another pair of steel sheet pile. So there's a cost for that. But there's some other costs. We're looking at savings on the road work. It extends to the west, so it should balance out to less than zero. But right now, it turns out in the excavation and work that's been done on the utility work to the west, we're running new conduit and moving fire hydrants and whatever to improve that road as part of this project. The pavement there looks excellent, and it looks like we can, instead of removing that pavement and replacing it with concrete, we can just mill the surface of the asphalt and
resurface that, so it'll save a substantial amount of money, which will more than offset the cost of the two piling that they ordered in late.
Any comments from Mr. Mott?
There's one other issue on the extreme south side. The property line that was shown in the drawings is a little off from what was determined in the field to be the property line. We had that checked by a surveyor. We brought in Brandon Phillips to check that, and it's about a foot off, or maybe a foot to 18 inches off. So there'll be some adjustment on that end of the project. The contractor's still working out the details of how he's going to work with that. We're going to meet with FP&L because part of the work will now actually extend on FP&L's property. So Manny's trying to set up a meeting end of next week, I think, to meet with FP&L. We'll have to work out an easement for that little bit of sheet pile extends. But we have to connect to the FP&L's bulkhead either way, because if not, the dirt will leak out. So you have to make a connection and close it off. So that's being worked on.
Very good. Gene, anything? All right, Blair?
Yes, Dave, thank you for helping us out. I assume that you're gonna be on our selection committee when we go out for a full-time engineer, but I'm just wondering, I don't know if you're privy to it. And Manny is, what's the update on that? And I haven't heard a word from anybody, so I'm a little curious.
Sure. Unfortunately, the AAPA message just was published yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. But prior to that, Commissioners, we have gone ahead and published this job description in other publications. We have received over 25, of which ballpark figure 5 are candidates that we think will give representation of what it is what they need. I would like to do the following. I am going to dedicate more time towards this starting Monday, well actually when I get back, so that the plan would be is we have identified the candidate by early December, and perhaps we can have that candidate here in early January. I've offered it to Dave, but Dave doesn't want it.
All right, anything else?
Not too much. There is something else. The schedule is kind of, for the work on the land side is moving along, but there was a part of the work to be built out into the turning basin, 3 concrete dolphins on piling. And the requirements in the permit require that the piling work be done before November 15th. So far, they haven't started fabricating the pile, so it doesn't look like they're going to make that. So that part of the work is going to have to drop back until after manatee season. There's plenty of other work to do on the upland to do build a slip and all the excavation and everything that goes with that. So the contractor is going to have to rework his schedule to show us how he's going to make that work. I don't know why he didn't get the piles on time. He said he had a hard time actually procuring that type of piling. And there was just a busy schedule, I guess, for the pre-stressing yards. But in any way, they're just not supplying those piling on time to be able to drive them before November 15th. So that part of the work will have to be rescheduled. It's
When is Manatee? When is it start?
November 15th.
Oh,
And it stays on until what, April 15th. So it'll be from November 15th to April 15th where he can't work in the water. And it's no point in him driving half the piles and then coming back in April and driving the piles. So I think if he can't start in time to finish, he's going to just wait until the end of the season. So that part's going to get rescheduled.
Are you satisfied with the responsiveness and the quality work of this contractor thus far?
Well, I could be more impressed. He's a qualified guy. He's subbing most of the work out, so he's got qualified people there to do it. He's had some trouble with his equipment and procuring materials and slowing it down. But the next thing that's going to happen of significance, he's got a subcontractor coming in to drive the drilled concrete piles that are going to form the wall of the slip. And that's being done by Nicholson, which is a first-class geotechnical firm to do that kind of work. So we expect that to happen. It's important that happens on schedule because we have a bond that covers the financing for this project. And they have to spend a certain amount of money before
December the 2nd.
December the 2nd. December the 2nd? 4th.
December 4th.
They have to spend a certain amount of money before December 4th in order to, of the total contract, in order to spend out that bond. Otherwise, we have to get an extension. I think Carl's working on checking out to make sure we can get an extension. It seems very likely. So that's critical. Otherwise, we could lose that money. This month, the contractor was supposed to bill about $1 million, and he billed $368,000. Obviously, partly due to the storm, and partly due to his slow performance. He was only delayed, like I said, about 9 days.
All right, very good. Mr. Mock, thank you. We appreciate your efforts. We'll now go to Mr. Finsky.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. One or two items. You're going to have, we're bringing this charter codification local building for landing, and we're almost there. You're going to have one item before you today, and for your consideration. To date, we've had 4 public hearings officially, one in the town of Palm Beach, one in Palm Beach Shores, one in Riviera Beach, and then one here at the port. And as a result of that public input, and it was a rather extended public input period, we started in June actually. So for the last 3 or 4 months, we feel as though the public's had a tremendous opportunity to give input. The only comment that we have received was from the town of Palm Beach, and I know you carry your proposed charter with you everywhere, and so if you would turn to page 10 with me. There is a sentence at the bottom that in paragraph 2 that talks about what is not allowed to do at the port, and so provided this act or charter does not authorize the construction of oil refineries, oil tank farms, or steel mills. And so what we were going to do with staff, what we had all decided to do was, once this gets into statute, it is easier to amend than a traditional port charter change. And some things happen in Tallahassee. I've heard about this from time to time that people don't even know what's going on. So what we thought we would do is just take out the words oil tank farms, steel mills, don't even have it in the charter. So should anything ever be introduced to do that, it would be red flags everywhere rather than just changing a little word to get it done. But the town of Palm Beach did not see it that way, and they think by taking it out, because it's in the negative, it would construe that perhaps that meant you could have a tank farm. So we have no problem with going back to the charter the way it is and not touching it at all. However, it's before you, Mr. Chairman, and the Commission for your consideration. This will be the last item, and where we go from here, so whether you want to remove it as suggested or put it back in the way that Palm Beach, you can make that decision, and then from today, after we know finally, and there's no other changes that the Commission wants to proffer, then from that.
Did you have the 50% increase?
That would be in the back, no, there is no 50% increase. Maybe I should start there. Nothing else is changing, foreign trade zone, no salary increase.
Hold on, I didn't say increase of what? Please don't assume.
Oh, I thought you meant salary increase.
No, absolutely not.
No, there's no changes to salary increase, no changes to the taxing authority, the $200,000 cap, none of those things are changing.
Nothing at all.
And nothing at all. So from here, it will come back to you one more time in its final form prior to introduction into the legislative process. After today, you decide what you want to do, and then we'll bring it back to you in November. November 28th is the deadline to the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation for all local bill drafts. We will certainly make that deadline. And then December 19th is the local bill hearing. Unfortunately, it's in Belglade, and we do like to invite the commissioner, the chairman, of course, to be there to represent, if you can do that. Or any other commissioners, of course, usually they're around here locally. It makes it a lot easier. This year, we're going to have to travel.
Happy to go to Belgrade.
Good.
We'll
I'll
look
come
out
with
for
you.
us. Let me ask you this, at our last commission meeting, we did discuss leaving the verbiage as it is, as it relates to tank farms. We have not voted on that, though. How does this board wish to proceed? Blair, Baden?
Greg, our attorney, is there anything to prevent us from changing that?
Well, I think we want to leave it the way it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to hear him.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
yes. Could you let the attorney answer me, please?
I'm sorry, I understand that the intention is to leave
Exactly.
leave the words in as they were in the original port charter.
Okay.
Yes.
David and G.
My feeling is if we can make our municipal partners happy with this, we should jump at the chance. I do have a question. When we go to Palm Beach, and I want to go back to the Rivera Beach in the first meeting in November, can we also ask the cities once they find that they have no more problems with the charter, if they would actually write a letter supporting it so that we can all get behind this and let it just flow this year?
Absolutely, so that's a great point, that once this gets voted on, then we're gonna wanna get a lot of support, and there should not be problem, particularly for that December 19th legislative delegation, because the delegation members, the majority has to vote to introduce it, allow it to be introduced, and so, you know, the legislators knowing that they have the support of the surrounding communities will be very important.
And because of the opposition last year, I think that would be very helpful this year.
It's a good point, absolutely.
Commissioner Enright, okay, good. All right, thank you. Richard, do you need
I need a motion to
leave the
because this was
verbiage-
proposed to you.
Is there a motion to leave the verbiage as is, as stated in our current charter as it relates to tank farms and the like?
So moved.
A motion has been made and probably seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries unanimously 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Vince. 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Vince.
Okay, and the only other item is November 10th is the first delegation meeting after the November 8th election. And we'll know who the new chairman of the delegation is, and that's who we'll be dealing with as far as introduction of the local government.
Would you kindly send, thank you, would you kindly send this entire board an email with the delegate date so we
Yes,
can calendar and
absolutely.
then respond as well?
Absolutely.
Be nice if we all go. Okay, thank you very much. We will proceed to old business, G1.
Commissioners, Carl Baker, Director of Planning. The port staff went out under a CCNA process to look for an RFQ for environmental geotechnical services. These were the companies that submitted. They were ranked, graded, scored down to a short list. These were the 3 companies that made the short list, and we are requesting permission for you to approve this short list so that we may bring them back in the November meeting for presentations, and you would then score them and choose who you wish.
Is there a motion? Question?
In the revised backup, the third company is changed.
Sir, that was a typo on my part.
That was my question.
That was a typo on my part, I
Commissioner Enright, you
apologize.
want to make a motion? Based on
So moved. With the companies
Motion made, Commissioner Enright, second by Commissioner MacArthur. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Should we limit that to 10-minute presentations?
5 to 7 would be fine.
5 to 7? How about 7 to 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
come all this way, you gotta give a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. That's
okay.
G2. I saw you there.
Not a problem. Commissioners, on the G2, similar to last year, we would like to hire, once again, Bellevue Sources. This is Jeff Littlejohn, who did a fantastic job for us last year, tracing monies and being able to get the Army Corps of Engineers to do the dredging. Once again, he's willing to work with us for this coming year. His expense has gone up, not by much, but still, it's gone up a little bit. And what he is saying is that since he's starting a little bit earlier, that's the reason for from 7 to 8. So again, I would ask if you approve this contract.
Question? Mr. Sicklin?
Yes. Andy, could you just briefly go over what is the prospects for maintenance dredging for 2017? I mean, what do we do? What kind of money are we talking about? 'Cause I know last year, of course, it was $4 million, and I'm just curious what it would be for 2017.
Okay. Those numbers have not come out yet, Commissioners, because the Army Corps of Engineers is now coming down the East Coast and doing these barometric surveys. So they do not know what the status is of our inlet, whether it would just require a maintenance or a deep dredge type of work. So what we normally would do with Jeff Littlejohn is he would be monitoring the step by step, being in front of Tim Murphy and his company to make sure that we get as much money allocated as possible. Now, if I just may add one more thing, this is according to Tim Murphy, who I speak with almost now on a week in, week out basis. What he is saying is, if our inlet requires immediate attention, then the Army Corps of Engineers, will have to do just a regular maintenance project, which means that the sand would then go out instead of being put on the beach. So that's costly. If we are okay, and that's a big if, then what they are most likely to do is later in 2017 do a deep dredge cleanup, and then that sand will be deposited on the beach. Now, quite honestly, this is where Jeff Littlejohn actually comes in very, very handy, because he's on a day-to-day basis contacting the Army Corps of Engineers. And please understand that he's also contracted by the township. So now we have some synergies. He's working for both of us, and that can only enhance our relationship.
Just want to make it very clear to everyone that those two potential events you spoke of are both maintenance dredging. We're not looking to deepen anything.
Correct, yes.
So, thanks again. Those are simply different types of maintenance dredging projects.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right, how does the board feel, Commissioner McCarthy?
I think he did an excellent job last year, and I'm looking forward to having him on the job again this year. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and probably seconded, not sure by whom, but by many people. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Master plan update. Mr. Long.
Commissioners, what I'd like to do is have Casey Long explain to us master plan update, not only update, but what it is that we are now involved in. There is a particular sequence of events that will have to take place, and who better than he to explain that?
Thank you, welcome, Mr. Long.
Good afternoon, Casey Long with CH2 and Health for the record. Purpose of today is to have a general discussion and give an opportunity, and this will be the first of 3 times I'll bring to the commission these various things, or as many as you see fit, but the planned are 3 times, 2 for review and going on for update and comment, and then the final one will be adoption in December to bring forward. But to start, why are we doing this master plan update? First is to assist the port in maintaining and updating your projections and your project lists and needs for capital improvement. This helps as it relates to funding. When your master plan is up to date, when your master plan has projects in it, then you can seek funds with the state agencies and state entities for bonds and grants, which then in turn would allow you to get the money that you may need. And if it's not in the master plan, it becomes a little bit more complicated, sometimes very difficult to get your funds. It also allows the board on a regular basis to visit your goals, your objectives, and policies, and modify them to meet your team's needs as well as your tenants' needs. And finally, to get out there with your market projections, to meet with the public and to get some public input. So that's what we're doing here through this process. You may recall this plan from a few years back. This is the previous plan. What we've gone through with court staff is we've taken out some of the projects we've completed. FEC went in and funded the off-court improvements, and so we're going to take that portion out of the master plan. You also recall the power lines being put underground. We've taken the portion out of the master plan that's already been completed. And slip number 3 was also done. And what we have is a future improvements map. And to simplify it, I've highlighted in yellow some of the added areas. Basically, we added a number 10 in each of the slips, and that's has to do with dredging. It's gonna give the port the opportunity to expand into the slips and potentially seek funds for some maintenance dredging as time goes on. You'll be responsible, not the Army Corps, for making sure your slips themselves are dredged. So you may need to seek some funds for that. We also added in a couple cargo and berth area improvements along the slip number 2 north side and the main marginal. As time evolves, we may need to do some cargo improvements there. And we put a lot of number 5s throughout. Number 5 is rail improvements. Instead of just isolating rail to a lot of locations, we've given you a little bit more flexibility to do rail in a lot of locations. There have been some needs in your marketing and your tenants to potentially do some work with rail down on the south side, which wasn't identified in the previous master plan. So we're looking at these. We're going to continue to massage them, but giving you the opportunity to look at those. Many of you have seen this. We passed that out with this agenda item. In here is strike through and underlining of a lot of the original or the previous master plan update. And what we've done here is struck through the things that are changing, identified with underlining and bolding the things that we're adding. We give you an opportunity for some feedback at this, and a little bit later on when we get to the presentation as we go. Considering that we made those adjustments, there'll be another section of this which we haven't shared with you except for in this, and that is that there's a lot of information in this master plan kind of lumped up into one document. And we've kind of decided that it would be easier and more beneficial to break it into multiple goals. So we've changed the goals and itemized them into these color codings. And obviously I'm going to fly through the next slide, but you'll see what we've done is we've taken each one of the items that's in this document here and we've color coded it based upon one of those goals. And I'm going to go backwards. The goals are port infrastructure and regional economic development. So anything within the master plan items here, we're going to lump in that associate with that. Anything associated with environmental stewardship, we're going to lump into that and try and structure this to have a better goal system than just one flowing document. So finally, the schedule. We've had our previous meetings in August and September where we've given you brief updates. We're having today's meeting. This is a little bit more extensive update. You've had a chance to see some of the work of staff and myself and Joan Sanchez as we move forward. We're looking for having a public meeting on October the 31st to present this information, and that'll be part of this agenda item as an approval for that. Moving on with an update in November of how the public meeting went, as well as giving an opportunity again to continue to receive comments from the commission and the public. Following up with a second public meeting in November, which we need to lock down a date on and notice those. And then in December, hopefully receiving approval from the commission so that we can move forward with a Board of Commissioners submittal to Palm Beach County in January. Following that, there's just a series of meetings with Palm Beach County, January, August, May. Some will extend into June and July, and then approval and award in December to become implemented with the county's comprehensive plan and the state's comprehensive plan. So today, we're not seeking any approval related to the master plan itself. Just getting an update, looking for your feedback and comments. And the only approval that we're seeking is permission to have a public meeting in October and November and get those set on the board. Commissioner.
Good afternoon, JT. Thank you very much. That's an excellent presentation. Excuse me. A couple things that I already mentioned to yourself and Manuel that I can put in the record. First, I'd like to get the times and locations of those meetings and get them out to the public as soon as possible. Like for instance, the one I believe on Halloween, it doesn't give a time or location, but we need to get that information out to the public as soon as possible. As we discussed earlier, there's some issues like, for instance, dredging and the inland port, where the proposal is sort of directive saying we will do this. I don't think we're going to do the dredging, at least not in the next 5 years, and I doubt that there's going to be an inland port. I think that language should be permissive. It shouldn't say we're going to do something that is highly unlikely that we're going to do. And some other things, some concerns, just clarifying language for our community partners. Some of their concerns, like for instance, the coalition is concerned about coral. As we mentioned, I think we should include that in the environmental protection as one of our goals and that type of thing. I think in addition to being a master plan for the port, this is also a, basically a PR piece, because people look at this and they say, this is where the port's going. And if they see things that give them concern, or don't address their concerns, then we have a unnecessary conflict with our community neighbors. And I think to the extent that we can avoid that, we should. Thank you.
How, is this timing important? How critical is the timing? And the reason I ask, I'm not certain that everyone up here, including myself, understands each and every item that's on there. So please explain the timing.
Well, the county has 2 intakes a year for their upgrades and modifications to their comprehensive plan. The first one is an intake in January, the next intake is somewhere, I believe, around April. So you're looking, although it's 4 months there, it's actually 6 months from approval date. So we may get a December approval with this one. If we delay and don't make the January, we're looking at middle of 2018 for the next one.
Well, if you put a gun to my head and right now tell me I have to tell you most of the things on there, I'm gone. Is this, Aiden, you sound like you're quite knowledgeable with it. Are my colleagues ready to go forward and tell the public what we're doing at this point?
I've already conveyed mine.
Yeah, no, I understand you did.
Yeah.
All right, so we're ready to go forward. All right. Commissioner Enright.
October 31st date, do we have to do it on that date because you're talking about an evening or afternoon in this country?
Yeah, we're
And I'm wondering about how many residents we will really have in some rooms on that particular day.
Is that a county?
Oh, wait a minute, that's county.
No, it's here. Here.
Here.
The October 31st, which we have scheduled for this year, so 2000.
We're confused.
We are proposing a public meeting on October the 31st. It's the first possible day we can notice and make after this board meeting. We can't have it any the previous Friday because we would have the 7 days notice needed. We were looking to try and get one as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Chairman, to your point, I mean, a lot of the information that's in here has already been established in the previous master plan update. The items that we're really looking for are the strike through and underlines, but I do understand there is a lot of information for sure, and times have changed. I'm happy to sit down with anybody who has any questions or wants to go through anything. Another item that I didn't mention is that we'll be working on the capital improvements budget. Part of the master plan submittal to the county is what are the projects that we're looking to do. Although on this map, we show a lot of things. These aren't necessarily hardcore projects that the port's going to do. These are very soft, vague areas where the port may be doing certain things, but there are specific projects that will be tied to this, that we'll be sitting down with port staff and deciding which ones will they be. Will it be, pavement improvements? Will it be some more rail improvements? We'll tie down the real funds to those to make sure that they fit within the port's capital capabilities.
I will sit down with you and Manny in the first part next week. And we have been burned in the past with these soft desires that we're not going to really do, and then we're held accountable for it. So, right. All right. Is there a motion to authorize moving forward at this time, going forward that October 31st meeting? Motion made and probably seconded by Commissioner MacArthur. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries unanimously, 4-0. Thank you. Ms. O'Meara, H1.
Commissioner, this is our last item tonight, but the subject is Haiti Relief Mission. Commissioner Richards and I had talked about this, and what we wanted to do is do a dual presentation. I will say the good news is that we have been able to obtain 2 playfair containers. One has already gone to location, loaded with relief cargoes. That container is back at the port. Now we're waiting for one more. That ship, incidentally, for Teeters, the next ship will be here on Monday, actually Sunday, late Sunday, Monday morning, with a possible departure on Tuesday. So we need to get that container back. We have talked about it. But, Commissioner, you've been there.
By Friday night, by tomorrow night.
By tomorrow night, right. Tomorrow afternoon, obviously. They need to manifest it. Commissioner, you have witnesses. If you don't mind, can you please add some of what your feelings are with regards to this relief effort?
It's great to meet it. I mean, I've heard firsthand accounts of people walking miles and miles to get to a medical clinic, and when they get there, there's nothing there to help them. Open, festering wounds. I receive calls that cholera. We're not hearing it here on our news that much, but cholera is back in a big way. People are devastated in the southern portions of Haiti. So Mayor Masters and I, Commissioner Enright has been involved in this as well, have put together with the port's assistance this relief mission. 1.5 trailers is full. We hope the trailers being filled up today, and we're planning to travel once the container is there. We have been assured it will be released with no tariffs at all from Haiti. And those of us that wish to participate will go there, and we will physically hand these items out. We've done this before. This is probably the 4th or 5th trip in the last 12 or 13 years. But I'll tell trees and baby supplies and medical supplies. Those are smaller items with great impact. But the Bahamas was significantly devastated. We're wondering, should we limit this to humanitarian relief as opposed to concrete blocks and big ship and big lumber? What are your thoughts, Mr. O'Meara? Can you explain that?
Based on my experience in another port, what was done at Port Everglades was just humanitarian cargo, which was limited to medicine, food, and water. And clothing,
Yeah.
of course, clothing. But everything else, supplies and all that, that's totally different than that you pay for, or it'll get there. Now, to Commissioner McCarthy's point, we can always revisit this. So my suggestion is we take 3 months, see how it's going, come back, perhaps do another 3 months, maybe 3 more months after that. But otherwise, indefinitely, it creates a bit of a problem, challenge. So my suggestion, my recommendation would be, let's do it on a 3-month basis, and then we'll be back and we'll let you know.
It's a good to say something.
I just think that we should stick with the 6 months, and then after that time, we can come back and review it and have an update. And then we can also look at the number of shipments per week, per month. That would give us some kind of basis of how things are going. And I like the humanitarian efforts as far as what's needed now to have the people.
Sure. Also, unfortunately, we just talked about Haiti, but what we like to do is offer it to all of the affected areas, such as the Bahamas and Haiti. And that would be just to exclude or waive the wharfage, and only the wharfage. And then just proceed with the.
Are there other sport-related charges that, when you say wharfage only?
Wharfage only, now there are.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And would we also be changing it to restrict it to the humanitarian supplies?
I think
That would be my
general
recommendation.
support here. So Caribbean in general, humanitarian, 6 months to be revisited.
Affected by hurricane.
Yes. Matthew.
Now, it's the board's pleasure, but if we want to waive all of the charges, like documents related to that particular container, from security charges related to that particular, it can be done. Perhaps goodwill would
Make
be
a motion first.
3 months.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question. You're saying all of the charges, we're talking about this, just all the little small. No, wait, all the charges, I don't think this is gonna be that much money.
Neither do I. I mean, our
Just
charges,
wharfage.
as you know, are a small portion of shipping it over a container. 10%, less than 10%, am I correct? If a person were to ship a container over, our charge is probably less than 5% of the total.
Somewhere.
Yeah, we're talking about peanuts, guys.
So I think we should wait all.
Mr. Zalewski, I'm
Okay.
Our revenue from a 10-ton container would be under $25.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could waive all of the charges on a container, be under $25. Allocating dockage to a container would be extremely difficult,
think so.
and it wouldn't amount to a lot. But I do agree that all the charges, for the sake of one container, under $25 is nothing, and we really should, in my opinion.
All right, final comment, then we'll have a motion by Commissioner Enright.
Yes, I know that Commissioner Richards has been there when the earthquake. Can you, I'm just kind of, I read a few things about all the money they raised during the earthquake. And did it actually go to work? Because it seems to me that it's kind of sad because it seems like they raised all this money and,
Most of the money never made it, and it is very sad later.
What?
We'll talk over it. But
Really?
Yeah. There's a whole lot to it.
Really?
But it's my impression and my belief that most of the money's never made it to Haiti. So, Commissioner Enright, you have a motion to make.
I just want to comment on what Commissioner Sickland is saying. When it comes to Haiti and things that are delivered by the Port of Palm Beach, our items make it. And they actually get to the people because.
And that's why we go, correct.
Who go and who deliver the items. So it's a totally different picture.
Well, no, that's a good point.
I would like to make a motion that we waive all the fees associated for 6 months. That's what's that, on our agenda.
Humanitarian,
Humanitarian.
to the Caribbean in general, affected by Hurricane Matthew.
Waive all of the fees associated with, humanitarian items in containers to the Caribbean, which consists of Haiti and the Bahamas. Those two countries, well, all the countries affected by Hurricane Matthew. And then, so if someone else comes up and say, hey, we have a little island over here, we're gonna help this out, then we don't have to say.
And to authorize,
And authorize travel for all commissioners, Mr. Sickland, who are interested in going, if they choose to go, from our current travel. So we're not coming back and adding something to our travel. This is monies that were already allocated for our travels, and most of us are not even using it anymore.
the motion has been wonderfully made and seconded by Commissioner Sickland and Commissioner MacArthur. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Opposition, none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Please.
One more item, Commissioners, BP Express, trucking company, has also volunteered, and they have been absolutely wonderful when it comes to that. They're the ones that we're gonna be contacting tomorrow morning, so they can in fact go ahead and pick up the other.
Thank you. So,
Why don't you for that, the reverend know that company?
Yeah.
So, because they need to know who they are in.
So gentlemen, the clergy, we just approved that unanimously. I'm not worried that there's going to be an abundance of containers. That's not a concern. The concern is getting enough over there. So please, get goods to us, or better yet, get containers to us. And we will assist you. I will assist you, Commissioner Enright will assist you, staff will assist you, this board will assist you.
Thank you. Just needs the name of the company.
All right, well, please don't see Manny. Thank you very much. We'll move this along. Manny, thank you for that, and staff, thank you for those efforts. Any comments from members of the public? I do not have any cards here. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll close that segment. We'll go to the board, starting with Commissioner Enright. Commissioner MacArthur?
No.
Commissioner Sickland?
Yeah, the only thing I would like to say is that, I feel very deeply about this problem in Haiti, and hopefully there'll be more done in the county than just the port doing, some containers, so.
Well, I have to tell you something, and I appreciate your words. It's frustrating, you go over there and you have, we'll advertise that we'll be there at 8 o'clock. People will start showing up at 3 in the morning, 4, and they'll wait in long lines for a shirt and a little bit of food. And it's my belief that these short-term efforts are simply a Band-Aid that falls off after a day or two. But there are people starving, there are people that need this help. So we have to do it, but there needs to be a systemic effort. And
I'm just thinking, maybe there's something else in the county or the Palm Beach Post, or at least, I think people need to be made aware of what's happening there, and I don't think.
It's not, you're right, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not.
And there really should be a clearinghouse, a major clearinghouse for the county.
So let's spread the word if we can and see if we can get other people involved. It's a disaster.
Thank you for that. I have no further comments. I do want to thank everybody for supporting the Haitian relief. Our next meeting will be Thursday, November 17th at 4 p.m. And is there a motion to adjourn?